Hi everyone, this is Megzable69 with Take the Red Pill. I received a message from Inventorgorilla today about stating that I, number one, did not address certain issues of his video. And second of all, when he was talking about atheists, that he was talking about atheists, that are just on YouTube. So, here's the thing. I'm going to address your whole video this time, and let's see if you really just simply explicitly make your claims against atheists on YouTube. Let's do this.
So I want to talk to you guys today about another hijacking. It seems to me that the atheist community is trying to hijack yet another word. The word skeptic.
Wow, really? Okay, so we're trying to hijack the word skeptic. Well, first of all, I did not know that that word belonged to somebody to where we can hijack it. But I would definitely love to hear your explanation as to what you're going to say.
Now, see, I'm a skeptic. I'm skeptical of atheism. I'm also skeptical of macroevolution. And that's mainly because I just haven't seen enough evidence to convince me that atheism is true and correct. And separately, I haven't seen enough evidence to convince me that macroevolution is even possible.
Okay, so I guess I could understand your skepticism of macroevolution because as you said, you do not have enough evidence to make you believe it. What about atheism that you're skeptical about? I mean, atheism is just in the simplest form a position of I do not believe. So, what's to be skeptical about?
So I'm going to ask you, do you guys think that to be a skeptic means you're an atheist? Or can we all use the term skeptic?
I mean, really? Just because you're a skeptic, that doesn't mean that you're an atheist. Being a skeptic just means that maybe you are just thinking. So can everybody be a skeptic? Yeah. Why do you find that one so hard to grasp?
One of the reasons why I became a theist is because I became skeptical of atheism.
Okay, so let me get this straight. One of the reasons you became a theist is because you became skeptical of atheism. So how does that work now?
A lot of you might think that my experiences were due to some kind of psychosis or medication, and while previously in years leading up to my coming to faith, I would agree with you and say that other people that have these experiences, it must be due to some kind of psychosis or some kind of mental problem or medication of some kind. But I haven't been on medication in a long time, and my psychosis or my mental illness is mainly depression and anxiety, which doesn't usually lend itself to hallucinations and stuff like that.
I'm not sure why you felt the need to bring up the fact that you were on medication. I'm not sure where the relevance is that to what's being discussed, but I mean, apparently you brought it up for a reason, but okay.
And after stopping the medication and going to therapy for a long period of time, my worldview hasn't changed. I still see the world as a place with a creator. Now,
Okay, I don't know if I get you yet, but no, excuse me, I'm not gonna say I don't know if I get you, but so you see the world as a place with a creator. So, how about you explain that a little bit?
now to get into the details of my beliefs would, well, we waste your time and a waste of my time, because I don't think it's my place to try to convince you of anything. I don't think that anybody should try to convince others that there is or isn't a God.
Now, you know something? I will have to say I do agree with you on that one. It is not anybody's place to convince anybody of anything. The evidence does that really well. However, there are plenty of theists who actually go out of their way to actually do convince people of things. They're called pastors. It happens every Sunday, it happens every Wednesday. Just about, but definitely every Sunday. And there are plenty of them here on this planet. Just saying.
I think it goes both ways. And I think that's one of the problems here on YouTube is that the theists think that they need to convince others that there is a God, and the atheists need to convince others that there isn't a God. And frankly, I feel as though this is a personal thing. It's a personal journey.
Well, you are right. There are theists out there who feel it is their personal mission to convince people of a God. I know because they come knocking on my door all the time. Jehovah's Witness, Mormons, and I even have other people from other regular Christian faiths who come knocking on my door. So you're right. Now, as for the atheists who try to convince people that there is no God, well, I don't know what to say about that, except I'm sorry that people are actually doing that, because there is no proof either way to prove that there is, and there is no proof to prove that there is not a God. There is no proof of any God, period, regardless. And also, for it being a personal journey to believe or disbelieve, to believe, I would maybe agree with you and say it's possibly a personal journey, because in order for you to continue believing, there has to be something that's going to trigger you to continue believing. Now, while that may be a personal journey, because again, you're going to continue going on this belief somehow, to not believe, how in the world is that personal journey? I mean, if you told me that you're stronger than Superman and you can jump tall buildings in a single bound, it's not going to be a personal journey for me to tell you I don't believe you. It's going to take me literally 2 seconds to tell you, yeah, whatever. And then that's going to be the end of that one. The burden of proof will be on you, not on me.
And by slinging mud at each other, you just kind of muddy the waters. And so, people can't see clearly for themselves, which is really, I think what we should be striving for here is allowing people to see clearly.
Well, actually, if people were to see clearly for themselves, I'm not sure there would be as many theists out there, because, well, there's a lot of things that they would be seeing. A lot of the fairy tales that they would see is evident in front of them, and maybe that would make them start thinking more than once. Just saying.
I see a lot of misrepresentation of Scripture. I also see a lot of misrepresentation of evolution and atheism. And all this really does is cloud the water and create confusion.
Misrepresentation of Scripture? I guess the first question is Scripture according to who and what? If you talk about misrepresentation of the Bible, there are many things that anybody who even can read on a fundamental basis can pick out and see that there are inaccuracies and contradictions. That is not hard to do whatsoever. Now, as for misrepresentation of evolution and all that other stuff, well, so far you're just slinging things around, and you're not giving any concrete evidence or proof of what is it that you're claiming. That we would like to see.
Now, as far as skepticism goes, I think we should all be skeptical of everything.
Again, I totally agree with you. We should definitely be skeptical of everything. Therefore, when we're reading that book, when anybody's reading that book, if they are skeptical of it and start really comparing things, there's a lot of things that they would see. But unfortunately, that's not the way it is. A lot of people are not skeptical. They go into reading that book presupposing that everything's just hunky-dory, fine, and truthful.
So why is it that the atheist community, because of this atheism plus and feminism debacle has gone on, people are shifting over to, skepticism?
Okay, I'm not gonna say that I'm 100% right because I don't believe in absolutes. However, I would probably venture to say it's more likely the other way around. People are skeptical, and that is the reason they probably end up becoming atheists. Probably not the other way around. Again, I'm not saying that skeptics are atheists and atheists are skeptics. I'm just saying, generally when people are skeptics, they really start to evaluate things and question things. Then maybe that's what leads them to become atheists, because they see the fallacy and the errancy in everything that they're being taught and everything that they read. Just saying.
But in my opinion, they're doing it kind of hypocritically. They're still holding to their world beliefs and then just calling themselves a skeptic, when by definition, a skeptic doesn't lean one way or the other. Kind of like how science is pegged, you know, in this debate as, being a tool to disprove God, or from the theist side, a tool to prove God, where it's not the job of science to do either. Science in of itself is neutral and only supports the facts. Now,
Okay, first of all, skeptic about what? I mean, somebody can be skeptic about one thing and not precisely skeptical about another. I mean, it happens all the time. Or there are people who could be skeptical about every single thing. But you still got a range of where and how people can be skeptical on things. It doesn't precisely have to be all inclusive in every single aspect of their life. And as for science, well, I will kind of agree with you, because science is nothing but a method of proving things. So science in and of itself does not sit there and say, yes, this is true, no, this is not true. Science just simply follows the evidence, which if a lot of people did that, there would be a lot more truth coming out versus following what they simply believe.
you can perceive the facts in a certain way. And I've seen this. I've seen science make a statement about the nature of the universe, and I've seen it turned, to an argument for God, and I've seen the same set of facts turned to an argument against God, when it's really not the purpose of science to do that.
Third time is a charm, I guess. Again, I do agree with you. Science is not here to prove or disprove God per se. Science is again here to, as a method, to find information, follow the evidence. So there are people who sit there and use science to try to prove God. That I see more so than people who use science to disprove God. But again, if you're talking about atheism, bottom line in its simplest form, again, is you haven't supplied enough evidence to prove that there is a God. Science has not supplied enough evidence to prove that there is one. So why should anybody believe it? I mean, really, on the average person does not do that for anything outside of life that's out. The average person does not do that outside of religion. It's mainly religion people do that with. Why? I mean, if you're going to be that way, then be that way for everything in your life. Don't sit there and have a special pleading case for religion, and then everything else, you're going to follow logic and reason. That right there is illogical. That does not make sense.
And I don't think it should be the purpose of skepticism to do it either. So why is it that atheists continue to try to hijack terminology?
So why do atheists try to hijack terminology? Well, again, you seem to be like slinging things around because so far you haven't provided any evidence for the claim. But, however, skepticism in and of itself is disbelief or doubt. Well, if you think about it, atheists, they disbelieve and they doubt the existence of God. So I can see how they go hand in hand with each other. Not to say one creates the other or vice versa. However, I could see it going hand in hand. Disbelief or doubt. Duh.
And I think mainly it's because while they claim that we don't have proof for God, and we don't, they don't have proof that there is no God. But they insist that they do.
Well, I'm not sure if you can make a claim that atheists, all atheists especially, insist that they have proof that God does not exist. Again, they just simply say that they don't believe it. Now, on the other topic of not proving, you said something that you were absolutely correct about. Theists do not have evidence that God exists. And you're right. Atheists do not have evidence that God does not exist. However, here's the bigger question. If theists do not have evidence that God exists, why are you believing something that you have no evidence for? And theists, they don't have evidence that God does not exist. And at the same time, they don't have evidence that God does exist. So it goes back to the same question. Why should you believe something that you have no evidence for? Where's the sense and logic in that one?
And I think we should all just take a chill pill for a minute and admit to ourselves that the belief or the non-belief in God is a personal quest.
Okay, same question as before. This is pretty much, you're using this is the same thing that you pretty much said earlier, except now you use the word quest. So please explain, how is disbelief a quest? Where's the journey in disbelieving something? I can understand maybe a journey in believing something, but journey in disbelieving something? Wow. Disbelieving takes a matter of seconds. Wow.
And it shouldn't be anybody else's business whether we believe in God or not. We shouldn't try to convince people one way or the other. We should just share our experiences.
Well, if you truly believe that we should not be trying to convince people one way or another, then why are pastors sitting there preaching every Sunday? Maybe you should be telling them this message. The other thing is, yeah, I guess I do agree about not trying to convince people one way or another. But here's the thing. A lot of theists, that's exactly what they do. They make the claims and saying that it's fact. So then you got other people who are not theists that just simply ask the question, where's your proof? It's really that simple. Now again, if there are atheists out there that are trying to convince you that there is not a God, well, that's unfortunate because they don't have proof either. But the bigger picture again is, theists have no proof that God exists. It's just that simple.
But the problem is that I've had bad experiences as an atheist, and I've had bad experiences as a theist.
I've had bad experiences. So what? Everybody has had bad experiences. Zippity doo dah. What's your point?
And I think a lot of people take these bad experiences and they associate the experience with the belief or the non-belief. And that is the problem when these are separate. Most likely your bad experiences are not a direct result of belief or non-belief. They're the result of some jackass just being a jackass, and they just so happen to call themselves either a theist or an atheist.
Okay, but do you truly believe that people's experiences is what all of a sudden makes them want to be theists or atheists? Or do you think it's maybe other circumstances like, oh, I don't know, maybe they don't have enough evidence, so they decide, I'm not going to believe this, I'm an atheist? Or maybe my parents have taught me this all my life, and so I believe it's true. I am a theist. Come on. Really?
You know, there are a lot of atheists here on YouTube that I think are doing a lot of damage to atheism. And, do I relish that? No, I don't relish that, because I think that atheism has its place in our society. I mean, there are always going to be a group of people that reject the idea of God, because it's a pretty serious idea, and it is a life-changing thing. And some people are ready for this, and some people aren't ready for this.
I mean, you're right. There are a lot of atheists who misrepresent themselves as being atheists, or they misrepresent atheism as a whole. However, believing is life-changing, and some people are ready for it, and other people are not. No. Those who do not believe, it's not because they're not ready. It's because, again, they're not presented with enough evidence. I mean, again, why should anybody believe these extraordinary claims? Because extraordinary claims require extraordinary evidence. And so far, you haven't provided a shred of it.
Now, I don't believe it's my job to coerce people into thinking one way or the other. And I wish more atheists would take that same train of thought. It's really not your job to convince people that there is no God, because, I mean, it's dishonest of you.
I mean, you're right. It is not your place or anyone else's place to try to convince people of such things. Now, you want to talk about atheists trying to convince people that there is no God and this is dishonest of them? Well, let me ask you this. What is dishonest? I mean, wouldn't you say that these people, pastors, preachers, reverends, whatever you want to call them, who try to convince people of God every week, wouldn't you consider that to be dishonest? Because they have no proof of what it is that they're trying to convince people of. They just simply want to continue on with the fairy tale of the sky daddy and figure, okay, I'm going to have these people believe. Now, whether it's because they want to fatten up their pockets and maybe, make sure that people donate to the church fund, I don't know. But that seems a little bit dishonest to me. What do you think?
Just because you feel that because of your experiences that there is no God doesn't mean that there is no God. It just means that that's your opinion, that's your perspective. And I think it's wrong of you to try to convince people that religion is bad.
Again, you keep just slinging things around with no evidence behind it. I mean, what's really making you think that this is because of people's evidence that all of a sudden they become atheists and going to go out to the world and try to prove that there is no God? I mean, come on. Really? Don't you think, this is really a bit of a stretch.
Because religion isn't bad in of itself. People are bad. And I've been saying this for a long time. Maybe if we start addressing the actions of people rather than the beliefs they hold, we might get somewhere.
I mean, yeah, you have somewhat of a point. We should address people's behaviors. However, the one thing that you're really failing to realize is people's beliefs is what dictates their actions more times than not. So, people who crash into the Twin Towers or sit there because of the Crusades, since you're not Catholic, we're gonna chop your head off and kill you. Or these poor women who were named as witches for using maybe herbal medicinal type of things, and all of a sudden they were burned at the stake, all in the name of religion. And the list goes on and on and on, that how religion has impacted people's actions to commit atrocities. Wow, I can't believe for a second that you really are that naive to think like that. I mean, wow.
So, are you a skeptic? Are you an atheist? Do you have to be an atheist to be a skeptic? Leave a comment. Thanks for watching.
Yeah, I think we kind of addressed that one and beat that one down, a dead horse already. You don't have to be a skeptic to be an atheist, and you don't have to be an atheist to be a skeptic. If you're a skeptic, that may lead you to become an atheist because you're going to question and doubt everything. But that's all there is to it. So again, we went down the path of my answering or addressing your whole video because you said there's something that didn't address. If you feel like there's some things that you can come back with or speak about coherently, not a problem. But so far, the only thing I've heard is you just making claims and slinging things around and providing no evidence behind it. So when you have evidence, hey, I would be more than happy to converse and we can discuss and share ideas. But if you are just simply slinging things around and just accusing people of things without evidence, then you are no different than everybody else who's doing the exact same thing. So until next time, hopefully, again, it'll be something a little bit more substantive. Well, that's all I have for you for now. Anyway, this is Megzable 69 with Take the Red Pill.